Hey friend, welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you are here. My name is Heather and this is Create Your Own Cozy. On this week's video, I'm going to do 5 pumpkin upcycles. If you want to see the different styles of pumpkins that I come up with, stick around. In the first project today, I'm going to take just a very cheap thrifted pumpkin and try to make it look a little bit more rich. So the first thing I'm going to do is stipple on 2 coats of Prairie Grey DIY clay-based paint, and I'm using the Little Dipper paintbrush here. And I'm doing the stippling motion because I want there to be a little bit more paint buildup so that it adds more texture to this very cheap thrifted pumpkin. After doing 2 coats of Prairie Grey, I'm going to get out the IOD Veritas mold. I have loved creating with this mold. I put this on birdhouses for spring and now I'm going to use it for fall. I feel like it is a year-round mold for sure. So I'm just putting some cornstarch in there so that the IOD clay pops right out. I am using the micro rim, which I love on the IOD molds, to have nice crisp edges. And then I do turn the mold over and roll the mold so that the clay just falls right out. I'm going to dry fit it on there and then make sure I get TIghtbond Quick and Thick, which is my favorite glue for these IOD molds or for the clay molds, and make sure it is covering the entire backing of the clay before I lay it in its place. I am going to make sure I let this lay on its side and set overnight, and I'm also going to kind of wrap some of the leaves across the top because this was a very, like, you could see seams. I didn't like that. Now, the next day there were a couple cracks, so I am going over these cracks with some more IOD clay and just kind of covering that up. I'm going to be painting this mold the same color as the background, and I'm going for just a nice rich look, tone on tone color. So now I am going over the dried clay with more Prairie Grey and making sure I turn it all different directions because it's very hard to get every little piece of white, just making sure I cover it all the way up. In last week's pumpkin habitat video, I did a technique where I had faded burlap and then I wet drip, or I dripped Prairie Grey down the side. Well, I'm going to do that same thing this week, but I'm going to do the opposite color. So I'm starting with Prairie Grey, and now I am putting faded burlap on the top using my water mister that I got from Hobby Lobby, still going strong, and I'm just wetting it and letting it run down its natural way. One of my viewers did say that Dawn Power Wash, which if you guys are not using that, that is amazing in the kitchen as soap. But the Dawn Power Wash, when you finish using that you can use that as a water mister. So if you guys have one of those in your house that's about to be out, consider giving that a try. But I am just putting faded burlap where I want it and encouraging it to drip down and have like a really cool paint effect. And I like how it kind of dripped around where the mold is. After that, I did seal it with some clear wax, and I love how this guy turned out. What do you guys think? Project number 2, I don't even want to try to remember how long ago I got this. I thought it was a very good framework, but that is not my color, this yellowy thing. And so I thought, well, why not just try to dye this burlap fabric instead of trying to like recover it with other fabric. Let's just use the fabric we have. So I'm using the water mister to help make the burlap wet, and so that it helps this paint be treated more like a dye than a paint. So if your fabric is really wet and you have the paint, it kind of melds into the fibers like a dye. So I am going over this whole thing 2 times. I did do like a 3rd coat because the holes of the burlap are a little bit wider and you could kind of see the foam in some of them. But I am really happy with how a quick little paint update makes this much more my style. Project number 3 is a gourd. I mean, a gourd is basically a pumpkin, right? It is something that I had worked on in past years, but I was not careful on how I stored it. And so since it was glass, it did scratch. I am over yellow for the time being and thought, well, let's upcycle this again. I did use wax on this, but it was more than a year ago and it is completely ready for me to paint over. So I am stippling on Prairie Grey. I know you guys see the color theme. I'm stippling it on, and originally was thinking, can I wet distress it and have some yellow come back through? But after checking that out, decided to not go that route, repainted it, sealed it up with liquid patina, and then used some antique gold rum and buff to make some of these higher areas stand out. And I think this is a really fun example of reusing stuff from your past decor life and just updating it with more your current style. For project number 4, I'm going to finish something that I started on a live with Sonnet. I had painted this pumpkin on a live and did not wait for the paint to dry completely before putting on the gold Etiquettes transfer. So I am just going to go with how that ended up and add some embellishment with that same Viridis mold and see if I can have a little fun making this a little bit more fancy. And I really enjoyed finishing this one up and adding a little bit more special stuff to it. Project number 5 are these cute little pumpkins that I got at Hobby Lobby. They retail for $9.99, so they are only 60% of that price with their crazy pricing at Hobby Lobby. But look how cute they are. And I do have to tell you, my friend Kristen, the trendsetter, who introduced a lot of us YouTubers to that wooden leaf a couple of seasons back, yeah, she's the one that told us to go find these. So if I were you, I would go get yourself some to play with before they get all sold out, because Kristen, she's a trendsetter. And oh, by the way, she's over on YouTube. Please go check her out. Love her ideas, love her heart. So I am taking these little pumpkins and I am going to paint them 3 separate colors. The colors that they come in are gorgeous. They're precious. Kristen has made some cute projects with them already, but I am going to make them more my style by using white swan, faded burlap, and prairie gray. Originally, while I was painting these, I was considering wet distressing and letting some of the original colors come back through. Spoiler alert, I did not distress these. I decided to make them look nice and crisp and rich. And after the painting happened, I got out my IOD paint inlays. This is Delft Traditions in the color Noir. And basically what I'm doing is doing a nice, relatively thick wet coat of paint. After that is on there, I mist the paint side of the paint inlay and then just put it down on top of the wet paint, and then mist the top of it again to make sure that all the paint is going to meld together, and let it dry completely before moving on to the next step. After they dried completely, I re-misted it, let it sit for a few seconds, and then pulled up the transfer sheet paper, or whatever you want to call it, to have these gorgeous, gorgeous designs on top of the pumpkins. I sealed it with liquid patina, added some ribbon to make them a little bit more fancy. What do you guys think? All right, what did you guys think? Did you have a favorite? I love being able to take some stuff that is your old you, use the bones of it, and just update it to be more your style. You don't have to go to the thrift store. You can just update the stuff that you have, or go to the thrift store if that's what you want to do. I appreciate so much that you are here. If you are not already subscribed and part of the Create Your Own Cozy family, I would love it if you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to all so you get notified every time I upload a new video. I would love to know in the comments below what your favorite project was and how you are crushing it in your life this week. I really do believe that we have to celebrate even the smallest of wins, so I just wanted you to look at how you are crushing it. I am so thankful that you are here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.